Curb those compulsions to attack or avoid, to flight or to fight. If you care about a relationship, resist taking the easy way. It won't be as easy as you think. We have compulsive needs, to win, to control, to be loved. Likewise, we have compulsive fears, inner blockages, fears generated by past relationships, fear of conflict. When we experience doubts and suspicions, we are motivated to react while also, ironically, we are constrained. The bonds which hold us back exist in all of us and also often make us blind to our own limits and confusion, and to the beauty and gifts of those who appear different. Under the control of our compulsions, others can quickly become a threat, serving as barriers in the way of the love or the success some people, if not most, need so badly. The excerpt above, paraphrased from Jean Vanier's 1998 Massey Lectures, Becoming Human, Anansi Press, 1998, p.113, says it like it is, too often. Jeff's store for years, when Jeff began to feel too frustrated with what he deserved yet was not getting, he immediately began looking around for alternatives, for a way out. It was the same for jobs, careers, or lady friends, his euphemism for lovers. As his frustration grew, he repeated his favored exit strategy, looking for ways to get out on his own terms. Jeff avoided talking about what was going on for him, so predictably, escalation and arguments evolved. This was how Jeff rationalized self-extracting from any relationship, moving on when things became unbearable. Often leaving bitterness and broken friendships in his wake, he was fortunately able enough to survive all the internal tsunamis and to escape with only collateral damage and with his own power intact. Such abilities only served to support his perspective that his behavior was working for him. Jeff always acknowledged that he had made some enemies, but after all, he never purposefully hurt anyone. All he wanted was to have fun, avoid hassles, and live life to the fullest. Jeff's natural conflict styles included attacking not only the issues, but also the messengers if he saw he wasn't winning. He never resorted to physical abuse, but as one colleague observed, Jeff should come with a warning label: when he gets mad his mouth becomes a lethal weapon. What people didn't realize was that Jeff, at the time, was a classic avoider. He didn't know how to leave life's playing fields gracefully, so he created situations whereby he could internally blame the other for the dissolution of the relationship. That's the way it was until Jeff looked into a mirror one day and experienced an aha moment. For the first time in his life, he began to see alternatives whereby he could have his needs satisfied while still maintaining friendly, or at least functioning relationships. He also began to accept that these new effective ways required a maturity which he lacked. In the interim, he realized that he had to curb his compulsions if he wanted different outcomes. We all have choices, especially when the conflict monster enters the room. What studies and experience have also confirmed is that emotional maturity is required to generate alternatives to disputes and alienation. I love Jean Vanier's reference to what many of us strive to achieve: compassion is maturity and maturity is acceptance. Maturity is precisely the acceptance of yourself with your own flaws, as well as others with their flaws. Maturity, then, is to discover who we are. Socrates said, "Know thyself." That remains a fundamental need, especially when in conflict, including, if not especially, internal conflict. If you care about resolving differences you have with another, don't give in to compulsions which take you to a place where you might not want to go. That place is Disputeville. If you'll pardon my 60s jargon, a negotiation is an outstanding success only if. A labor leader had just commented to me that he had the company on the run. The reality was that on that particular morning, his union members had walked out on strike. The company responded by locking them out. In my opinion, both actions reflected failure by those at the negotiating table. I then asked for his rationales, for his opinion about how a work stoppage could be perceived as anything but a negotiating failure. His somewhat impatient response was that such actions and the potentially negative short-term consequences were the union's cost of doing business. I walked away from that conversation shaking my head, thinking that he sounded a lot like many of our national and international leaders. I never had the opportunity to speak to the company's leaders, but such misconceptions about success in negotiations are rampant in our society. Unfortunately, rationalizing is one of the best things people do on a regular basis. In conflict, failure to negotiate collaboratively through to functional outcomes does constitute a failure on the part of those negotiating. It doesn't matter whether the dispute is interpersonal, organizational, or international, and it matters less whether negotiators like my labels or not. In my opinion, honesty, integrity, and accountability are what's important. Trust me on this. If you value any relationship, a negotiation will be an outstanding success only if conditions have improved for everyone involved to their relative satisfaction, and a positive relationship has been established or maintained.